Okay, today we're going to talk about the subtraction rule for exponents. Sorry, I'm sounding extra creepy, but everybody's asleep in the house. So, the subtraction rule has to do with division. And first let me do this out the long way. And so here, I get x to the 6, which would be x 5, 6, over x to the second. But for every x on top, we can cancel with one x on the bottom. So let's do that. And so how many x's do I end up with? Well, I end up with 4. And they all end up on the top of the fraction. So that would be x to the 4th over 1, or just x to the 4th. However, if you notice, if we're going to cancel 2 away, we could just have done this much faster by subtracting. Because that equals x to the 6 minus 2. And that's the subtraction rule. If you divide like bases, you just subtract their exponents. The problem with this is it causes a interesting result in some cases that we have to deal with. And let's look at number 2. It looks like the same problem, but the x squared is now on the top. So let me do the subtraction rule first. So that would be x to the second minus, that would be x to the sec2 minus 6, because it's always the top minus the bottom. But the problem is that's x to the negative 4th. And what does a negative exponent mean? That's something probably new for everybody. So let's take a look. Let's do it out the long way now. X to the second is x squared, or 2x's on the top. X to the 6th is the same 6x's on the bottom. And let's cancel. And so now we end up with our 4x's on the bottom, and then nothing on the top, but we know when we cancel, everything's left as 1's, so it's 1 over x to the 4th. So let's look at the two answers. We have x to the 4th versus 1 over x to the 4th. What's the difference? The difference is that the negative exponent means take the reciprocal. And so here when I do the subtraction and I get a negative exponent, that's telling me I want the reciprocal. And then the exponent changes back to a positive. Alright, let's see this in action. Let me give you another example because I know that this is something new. So here's y to the 3rd over y to the 5th. And let me do it the long way first. Y. You're probably thinking that as well. Over y 5 times. Cancel. And we end up on top with 1. And on the bottom with y squared. All right, how could we have gotten that faster? Let's do the subtraction rule. Remember, it's always the top minus the bottom. Don't force it to a positive situation, which equals y to the negative second. So what did that tell me to do? Take the reciprocal. And notice when I take the reciprocal, I change the sign. All right, let's start doing some problems where we combine things together. So here, again, let me do it the long way. So on the top I've got x and x, on the bottom, and then y. On the bottom, a single x, and 2 y's. So we can only cancel like variables. So at the top, we lose those x's, and then we lose those y's. And so I'm left with xy over 1, or just xy. Let's do it the quick way with the subtraction rule, but now we subtract letter by letter. So the x, here I'll do it down here, would be x to the 2 minus 1, and y to the 3 minus 2, which equals x to the first, y to the first. Alright, and these two things are the same. Notice that both exponents are positive, so there's no reciprocal going on. Alright, when things get more complicated, what we want to do is simplify the top, simplify the bottom, and then do our canceling. So the tops and the bottoms, treat them like regular problems that we've been doing, so this is nothing new. So when I cube this here, that exponent is going to hit all of those. So we get 2 cubed, x cubed, y to the 9th, and then 6, it's not in the parentheses, so it doesn't get hit, x to the 20th, y to the 5th. 2 cubed is 8. And now let's do our canceling. Remember, just like all the other problems, when you're dealing with regular numbers, you cancel them as you always would. So this is not a subtraction rule anymore. It's not 8 minus 6. We got to think what number divides in evenly between 8 and 6, the largest one. So we can take a 2 out. So a 2 out of 8 is 4. A 2 out of 6 is 3. So for that part, I can just write my 4 and the 3. Now, let me do it this way. Let's do the subtraction rule. X to the 3 minus 20, y to the 9 minus 5. So I get 4 thirds, x to the negative 17, y to the 4th. Well, here's a negative exponent. What does it mean? Reciprocal. But another way to think of it is it just means if you have trouble with reciprocal, go to the bottom, because I can't take the reciprocal of everything because x is the only thing with a negative exponent on it. So I have my 4 thirds. X now goes to the bottom of the fraction, y stays on top. Alright, and let me do the last problem here. When you start with the square on the outside, take care of everything on the inside first, and then do the simplifying. So I've got 16 x to the 6th, y to the 4th, and 9 x to the 10th, y to the 2nd. For the 16 and the 9, there's nothing I can cancel, so I'm going to leave that as 16 ninths. And then let's do the subtraction rule. X to the 6 minus 10, y to the 4 minus 2. So I get 16 over 9, x to the negative 4th, y to the 2nd, and then let's deal with the negative exponent. So that means, again, goes to the bottom or takes the reciprocal. So 16 over 9, x to the 4th, y to the 2nd. There's our answer. Good luck.